Ladies and gentlemen, you don't have to fight toxic people. You don't have to prove yourself to them. You don't even have to explain why you're done. There's one thing you can do once and they will never return. You set a boundary and you mean it. See, toxic people don't respect your word. They test your actions. The moment you show them that your peace is no longer negotiable, they realize they have no more power over you. They thrive on arguments, explanations, and emotional reactions. But when you refuse to play the game, when you go silent, when you stop giving them your energy, that's when they walk away. The truth is, they don't leave because you told them to. They leave because you stopped giving them the control they came for. Boundaries are like locked doors. You don't have to explain why it's locked. You just keep it locked. Saying no is enough. Not answering every call is enough. Not responding to every insult is enough. You don't fight for closure, you create it by choosing peace over chaos. And once they see they can't get a reaction, they'll do what toxic people always do. Find another place to feed their emptiness. So the question isn't, how do I get rid of them? The real question is, will I respect myself enough to stop giving them access? Because when you do that once, just once, everything changes. Do this and toxic people will never return, because your silence, your boundary, and your peace are louder than anything you could ever argue back with. Boundaries are the strongest filter. You don't lose people, you lose manipulator. The moment you decide what you will and will not allow, you create a natural separation between those who truly respect you and those who only seek to use you. Think of boundaries like doors. If you leave them wide open, anyone can walk in, invited or not. But the moment you decide to close the door, suddenly the ones who valued you for who you are will knock with respect. While the ones who were there only to take advantage will leave in frustration. You don't lose good people when you set boundaries. You lose the ones who were never there for you in the first place. Toxic people don't leave easily. They test you. They push back. They try to make you feel guilty for saying no. But here's the truth. Every time you enforce a boundary, you teach others how to treat you. You are not responsible for their anger. You are not responsible for their disappointment. You are only responsible for protecting your peace. When you choose to honor yourself, you send a powerful message. You are no longer available for manipulation. Boundaries are not walls. They are not about shutting out love or kindness. They are about filtering the unhealthy from the healthy, the fake from the genuine. Think of a garden. You put up a fence not to stop the flowers from growing, but to keep out the weeds that choke them. In the same way, boundaries protect the beauty of your life from being suffocated by those who bring only chaos and control. Some people will respect your boundaries immediately. They'll see your strength and they'll honor it. Others will resist. They will try to shame you, to twist your words, to guilt you back into submission. But the very resistance they show reveals who they are. People who truly care for you want you safe, even if it means they hear no. People who manipulate you only want you compliant, even if it costs you your happiness. That's the filter. That's how boundaries work. And yes, setting boundaries can feel uncomfortable at first. You may feel guilty, selfish, or even harsh. But remember this, guilt is not the same as wrong. The discomfort you feel is the price of growth, not the proof of a mistake. Over time, you'll notice that your life feels lighter. The noise fades, the drama decreases. The people who remain are those who truly see you, value you, and love you without condition. So no, you don't lose people when you set boundaries. You lose manipulators. You lose the ones who thrived on your silence, your fear, and your people-pleasing. And in losing them, you gain something priceless. You gain clarity. You gain respect. You gain peace. And when you realize that peace is worth more than keeping toxic people comfortable, you'll understand the power of one simple truth. Boundaries don't push away the right people. They protect you from the wrong ones. Silence speaks louder than arguments. It removes the fuel toxic people crave. Toxic people don't actually want solutions. They want reactions. They want to see you flustered, defensive, or angry, because your emotional response gives them a sense of power. Every argument becomes a stage where they perform, and every word you give them is applause. But when you choose silence, you take away the stage, the audience, and the spotlight. Suddenly, they're left with nothing to feed on. Silence is not weakness. It is strength disguised as stillness. When someone tries to bait you into conflict, they expect a fight. They want you to explain, to justify, to prove yourself. But silence breaks the cycle. It says without saying, I refuse to waste my peace, proving what I already know is true. Silence leaves no room for manipulation because manipulation thrives on engagement. When you stop engaging, you stop being controlled. Now, silence doesn't mean avoidance out of fear. It doesn't mean you're ignoring the problem. It means you're choosing not to play a game you can't win. You cannot out-argue someone who isn't looking for truth. You cannot out-explain yourself to someone committed to misunderstanding you. Arguments with toxic people are like pouring water into a bucket full of holes. It never fills. But silence refuses to pick up the bucket at all. Think of it this way: a fire only burns as long as it has fuel. Worse, defensiveness and emotional reactions are oxygen to that fire. Take them away, and it burns out on its own. Toxic people eventually get bored when you stop feeding their flames. They move on to find someone else who will argue, someone else who will give them the attention they crave. Your silence becomes the extinguisher, not because you fought harder, but because you chose peace over participation. Silence also protects your dignity. Arguments can drag you down to a place where you say things you regret, where you lose your calm and hand them the satisfaction of seeing you unravel. But silence keeps your composure intact. It communicates self-control. It shows that you value your energy enough to save it for battles that actually matter. In fact, silence is often the loudest response you can give, that says, "You are not worth my peace. My time, my energy, and my words are too valuable to waste here." Of course, silence isn't always easy. The urge to defend yourself can be overwhelming, but strength is not always found in speaking up. It is often found in holding back. Choosing silence in the face of provocation is not giving in. It's rising above. And the more you practice it, the more you realize that peace is louder than noise. So yes, silence speaks louder than arguments, because in the end, toxic people can't handle being ignored. They can't handle being starved of the reaction they need. They fade when you stop feeding them. And when they realize your silence is permanent, they leave. Because without fuel, their fire cannot survive, and that is the power of silence. Respect yourself enough to say no without explanation. One of the most powerful things you can ever learn is that no is a complete sentence. It does not need decoration, justification, or apology. Every time you explain your no to someone who is trying to take advantage of you, you open a door for them to argue with your boundaries. But when you stand firm in your decision, without feeling the need to soften it with excuses, you show that your respect for yourself is greater than your fear of disappointing others. Many of us struggle with saying no because we've been conditioned to believe that kindness means compliance. We've been told that to be good, we must always be available, always be agreeable, always sacrifice. But there is a difference between kindness and people-pleasing. Kindness is given freely without losing yourself in the process. People-pleasing is when you hand over your peace just to keep someone else comfortable. Respecting yourself enough to say no is choosing kindness toward yourself first. When you say no, you are not being rude. You are being honest. Toxic people, however, will try to twist your no into guilt. They'll make you feel as though you owe them something, as though your boundaries are unfair, as though you are selfish for protecting your time and energy. But here's the truth. Selfishness is when you demand from others what they don't want to give. Boundaries are when you refuse to give what you no longer can. There is a difference. Saying no also reveals who values you for who you are, versus who values you only for what you can give them. The ones who truly care will respect your decision, even if it's inconvenient. The ones who are only there to take advantage will push harder, complain louder, or disappear altogether. And when they do, don't mistake that as a loss. It is a filter. It is life showing you who deserves a seat at your table and who never should have been there in the first place. The beauty of saying no is that it creates space for better yeses. Every time you decline something that drains you, you leave room for something that fulfills you. Your energy, your time, and your peace are limited. And when you give them away carelessly, you end up exhausted, resentful, and unfulfilled. But when you guard them with the strength of a simple no, you protect your ability to say yes to the things that actually matter. Your health, your dreams, your family, your call. To respect yourself enough to say no without explanation. Not every no needs a reason, and not every boundary requires a defense. The moment you understand this, you'll find a freedom you never knew you had, because no is not rejection. It is direction. It points your life away from what drains you and toward what sustains you. And once you learn to say it with confidence, you'll see that your no is not only powerful, it is the very thing that gives your yes its value. Detach from their drama. Your peace is not their playground. Toxic people thrive on chaos, and the moment you step into their mess, you hand them the control they're looking for, their arguments, their manipulation, their constant need for attention. It's all designed to pull you into a world where they dictate the rules and you're left drained. But when you choose to detach, you take away the stage they perform on. You stop giving them the satisfaction of seeing you tangled up in their games. Detachment isn't coldness and it isn't cruelty, it's wisdom. It's the understanding that not every invitation to conflict deserves your art. Drama has a way of disguising itself as importance. Toxic people will try to make you believe that their problems, their anger, and their emotions should automatically become yours. They pull you into endless conversations, guilt trips, and blame games. But here's the truth. You are not responsible for carrying what they refuse to handle themselves. Their chaos is not your burden. The more you step into their drama, the more you lose sight of your own peace. Detachment is choosing to stay anchored while the storm rages around. When you detach, you are not saying you don't care. You are saying you care too much about your own peace to sacrifice it for someone else's performance. Think of it like a puppet show. When you refuse to hold the strings, the show stops. Toxic people need your reaction to keep their drama alive. They need your defense, your explanations, your outrage. But when you don't provide it, the play ends before it begins. They need your will of the play. But the play, detachment, is cutting the strings and walking away. Of course, detachment doesn't come easy. It takes strength to stay calm when someone is pushing your buttons. It takes practice to let silence replace arguments and composure replace chaos. But every time you choose peace over drama, you build resilience. You remind yourself that you don't have to attend every fight you're invited to. You don't have to solve every problem that isn't yours. You don't have to make their storm your home. And here's the beautiful part. Once you step back, you see things more clearly. You start to realize how much of their drama was designed to distract you from your own growth. You notice that their chaos loses power when you stop reacting. The moment you detach, you reclaim control over your emotions, your time, and your energy. You finally see that your peace was never meant to be handed over, like a toy, in someone else's playground. So detach from their drama, not because you're heartless, but because you're wise, not because you don't feel, but because you've learned to protect what matters most. Your peace is sacred, and it deserves to be guarded. Let them keep their chaos if they choose, but don't let it rent space in your life. Your peace is not their playground, and the sooner you understand that, the sooner you'll discover a freedom that drama can never touch. Stop feeding their control. Attention is their oxygen. Toxic people survive on the energy you give them. Every time you react, every time you argue, every time you explain yourself over and over, you are handing them the very fuel they need to keep controlling you. They don't need your agreement to feel powerful. They just need your attention, even your frustration, even your anger, even your desperate attempts to make them understand. It all feeds them. But the moment you stop giving them that attention, it's like cutting off their air supply. Without your energy, their control starts to collapse. Think about it. Control only works when someone plays along. A manipulator can't control silence. They can't twist what you don't give. They can't hold power over someone who simply stops feeding the cycle. Attention, whether positive or negative, is what keeps them alive in your life. If they can get you to chase, to explain, to fight back, they know they've got you in their grip. But if you withdraw your focus, they're left gasping for the control they no longer have. This doesn't mean you ignore reality or pretend issues don't exist. It means you become intentional with where you place your energy. Not every insult deserves an answer. Not every provocation deserves a reaction. Not every manipulative tactic deserves your time. When you recognize that your attention is the currency toxic people thrive on, you'll stop spending it where there's no return. Your silence, your distance, and your refusal to engage become the very things that break their hold over you. The challenge, of course, is that toxic people notice when you stop feeding them. They push harder, they try new tricks. They'll poke at your insecurities, try to guilt you, even act like victims, just to pull you back into giving them what they need. But you must stay strong. Just like someone who's addicted, they'll crave the attention they've always relied on. But the longer you withhold it, the weaker their grip becomes. Your consistency is the key. One strong boundary will shake them, but consistent boundaries will remove them. And here's what's powerful. Once you stop feeding their control, you free yourself to feed what actually matters. You begin to pour your attention into your growth, your peace, your purpose, your relationships with people who truly value you. You shift from surviving their games to thriving in your own life. What once felt like chains begins to feel like freedom, because you finally understand that their control was never as strong as your focus. It only lived where you placed your energy. So stop feeding their control. Don't hand them the oxygen they need to keep their fire alive. Let them struggle to breathe in the silence you create. Because when you stop giving attention to the ones who drain you, you take that same attention and invest it in the life you're meant to build. And in that choice, you don't just take back your power, you take back yourself. Once you choose your peace, they choose to leave. Toxic people don't walk away because you argue louder or explain better. They leave because they realize they no longer have access to what they came for. Your energy, your reactions, your attention. The moment you make peace your highest priority, you create an environment where their chaos cannot survive. Peace is like clean air. And toxic people are smoke. They can cloud it for a while, but when you keep choosing peace, they can't breathe in it. Eventually they leave on their own. Choosing peace is not passive. It is not weakness. It is the strongest decision you can make. Because peace doesn't mean you ignore problems. It means you refuse to let problems control you. It means you decide that your mind, your heart, and your spirit are too valuable to be tossed around by someone else's drama. When you choose peace, you're not running away from them. You're moving toward yourself. You're saying, my well-being matters more than winning this argument. My calm matters more than proving this point. My future matters more than keeping toxic people comfortable. At first they won't like it. They will test you, push you, and try to drag you back into the same cycle you've been stuck in. They'll accuse you of being distant, uncaring, or selfish. But understand this, those accusations are not truth. They are fear. Fear that they've lost their grip. Fear that the control they once had no longer works. The more you choose peace, the more uncomfortable they become, because peace denies them the reaction they crave. Eventually, a shift happens. Toxic people realize that there is no longer a reward in staying connected to you. The games don't work, the guilt doesn't land, the drama doesn't shake you, and because they cannot thrive where there is peace, they remove themselves. They look for someone else who will give them the conflict, the attention, the chaos they need. But by then, you will already be living lighter, stronger, and freer. Peace is not just the absence of conflict. It is the presence of clarity. It allows you to see who really belongs in your life, and who is only there for what they could take. It creates space for relationships built on respect, love, and authenticity. And it gives you back control not over them, but over yourself. Because the real victory is not getting toxic people to leave. It's building a life so grounded in peace that they cannot stay. So once you choose your peace, they choose to leave. Not because you forced them out, but because they cannot exist in the environment you've built. Your calm is their defeat. Your silence is their ending. Your peace is their exit sign. And when they walk out, don't chase them. Let them go. Because their leaving is not a loss. It's proof that you finally chose yourself. And that choice will always bring more to your life than their chaos ever could. At the end of it all, the message is simple. You don't have to fight toxic people. You don't have to out or argue them. And you don't have to keep proving yourself to people who will never see your work. Boundaries protect you. Silence shields you. And saying no without apology frees you. Detachment keeps your peace safe. Withholding attention weakens their grip. And choosing peace ensures they remove themselves. The power has always been in your hands, not theirs. When you understand that your life is too valuable to be a playground for manipulation and chaos, you stop giving away what was never theirs to take. You don't lose anything by protecting your peace. You gain everything. Toxic people may test you, but they cannot stay where your boundaries, your silence, and your calm are stronger than their games. In the end, you don't just push them out, you rise above them. And once you rise, they cannot follow.